Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It's another edition of Away Days with Dino. How you doing? Hope you're all doing well and having, well, I say a good start to the summer or good end of spring, but the weather's not been the very best. So let's hope it gets better. Yeah, I've been off for a few weeks. I've been off from the podcast for a few weeks, but I have been on the YouTube channel. So if you are watching and listening, how you guys doing? If you're listening on Podbean, welcome. If this is your first time listening, thank you for coming in. Thank you for joining and listening to my output on various sports. Um, well, where do I start? What a season. I'm at that point now where this is the dry point of the season or the year now where for me the two sports I like the most are not being played. That's football and the NFL. So right now, the next month or so is just going to be kind of suck in a sense. But what a season! Um, this episode is going to be me just giving my grades for all 20 Premiership teams for the 2023-2024 season. So I'm basically going to start from the bottom and work my way up. Just going to do a quick couple of sentences and stuff and quick notes on each team and say their grade at the end. I'm also going to mention my team of the year, which I've also included subs, by the way. So you will get, when I get to that, you'll see as well as some honourable mentions as well for other players who didn't make it into my team, but I think they had a very, very good season. Once you've heard them at the end of this episode, if you are on YouTube and you want to leave me your comments on what you think is your team this season, please do so. Let me know your player of the year as well and your young player of the year. And let me know if there's any other players for you who stood out for you. And let me know how your club done, how your team done, who you support. So I'm gonna just get onto it now. I actually done this earlier this evening when I was at my part-time job, and I just done a quick grading of all the teams. I want to start at the bottom, like I have to do, and that will be with Sheffield United. I've actually not given them a grade. I actually didn't give them a grade. I didn't know what to do with them. It was just, what can I say? This team, I mean, they conceded 104 goals this season. They were probably on par with Derby County back in the 2008-2009 season, if I remember, where I think Derby only won 3 games that year, and they only won 1 game, I think, that year, and they finished on, I think, something like 11 points or something like that. Like I said, I don't know what to say about them. They got promoted. They done well in the Championship, but I think I think all of us can agree that the Premiership, when you see the gap, like I said before in other episodes, the gap between the Premiership and the Championship is not as close as you think. And if there's evidence of that, Sheffield United that evidence. They finished on 16 points. Like I said, I couldn't even give them a grade. Just they just need a major reset. They need to start over again. They'll go down. Start over again. They probably will struggle in the Championship, but I still think they'll be thereabouts. If they do come back up, then all for them. They would have the experience to learn. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, they were bad. They were very bad. So I'm not gonna dwell on them too much. If there's any Sheffield United fans out there, I'm not gonna put you through your miseries again. But reasons to be optimistic. Could come back up next season. The Championship, like I said, it's toss and turn with the Championship. So, but there's gonna be some tough teams in there. So all I can wish Sheffield United is all the best in that instance. So I will put you guys out your misery and not speak about you guys anymore after this season. I'll move on to Burnley, finished 19th, finished on 24 points. I'm giving them a grade of E. I'm giving them an E grade. I was expecting a lot more from them. Again, kind of similar to Sheffield United. I was expecting a bit more, considering that they actually came up as champions. Vincent Company at the helm, bring that experience in. But again, it didn't quite work out for whatever other reason. Between them and Sheffield United, it was getting to a point where it was just a guaranteed 3 points no matter who they played. They did. I mean, looking back, actually, both of these two teams actually put in a spirited performance against Manchester United, if I remember. But there's only so much you can do. You've got to be consistent in this league. And if you don't find your feet in the Premiership, as we all know, if you don't find your feet in the Premiership quick, you're going to get punished. And Burnley was another one of those ones that got punished. Like I said, I was expecting them to do better, but yeah, they go straight back down. So for that, I give them an E grade. But again, like Sheffield United, I wish them the best of luck. Moving on to 18th place, Luton Town finished on 26 points. Luton were kind of like a Cinderella. They were like a fairy tale. At times they played some good football. They were threatening. They were adventurous. They gave a goal. They showed desire in many games. But I think naivety and mentality got the better of them towards the end. There was a couple of games which I can think of. One against Arsenal and the other one, if I recall, against Bournemouth, where they were actually winning by 3-1, and they ended up losing 4-3, and that was one of the games of the year in the season. Again, played some good football. They had Ross Barkley in there. He was giving them a bit of a spark, and they really did try. I can't really say that they didn't try, but their manager Rob Edwards, I think he could be proud of them. It's a learning curve for them, and they made a lot of friends. A lot of people went there to stay up, but I'm reading the stats. They only had one win after January, so there's only you give what you get. Unfortunately, like I said, the Premiership is a very, very ruthless and relentless league. If you don't find your feet, it's going to cost you. But they did play good football at times. They were hard working. They didn't lay down their morals. I'll give them. I'm looking at the grades I've done. I actually gave Luton D, but a D minus. I'm actually going to give them a C minus. I'm going to put it up to the whole grade, so I'll give Luton a C minus purely because they were like Sheffield United where there was like a loss of team spirit and everything. There was lots of team spirit in the team, so I'll give them a C minus. So all three teams who got promoted got relegated straight away. I think that's like the 5th time that's happened in the league. Overall in the Premiership. But if I had to pick out the 3 teams who would probably come back up based upon if they keep all their players, I would probably say Luton. I can see Luton doing well next season. So, but between the 3 of you, I wish you the best of luck for next season, and maybe we'll see you guys again the following year. So now we're up to 17th. We got to Nottingham Forest. Again, Forest they had struggles, and it didn't help that they had points deducted as well. But they, the last few games of the season, they did quite well to get some results. They did beat Luton, I think, in one game. Chris Wood had a good season. Callum Hudson-Odoi rose up, and so did Morgan Gibbs-White. The squad is a bit iffy, but but those 3 were probably the main point of the team, and that's probably the 3 reasons why they stayed up. They did have a manager change. Nuno came into into the club, and he managed to steer it after Steve Cooper getting him sacked. But I think, with Forest, I kind of thought that they weren't going to get relegated. I didn't think they were going to get relegated, even with the points deduction. But I think next season they're going to have to be very, very wary, very, very mindful with what's going on. And for that reason, I give Forest a D minus with their grade. Reason to be optimistic. They're still in the Premiership now. They still got some fairly decent players in the team. They are a hard-working side. They do cause you problems, and I think they'll do the same for next season. But it's just a case of whether they can improve on their 17th place finish. They're more than capable, I think. But time will tell with the right players that they bring into the squad. So I'll give them a D minus. Moving on now to 16th place, Brentford, finished on 39 points. It was a very hard year for Brentford, considering the season before they did actually quite well. I think where they finished last season. I think they finished like 8th or 9th last season. If I remember, I remember Ivan Toney having a good year, and then they got Wieser in there as well, and then Buemo. So they're good going forward. They got some good players in there. Thomas Frank is a good manager as well. But this season was I don't know. Felt like it was a little bit of a letdown for them. But Ivan Toney was out because he had the charge of being suspended for I think like 8 months. Came back. He scored a few goals, and came in, but didn't really find the form quite. Now that we're in the end of the season, it's looking like the likelihood is he probably will move. There's been a lot of linking wherever he'll go. There's been Chelsea, there's been Arsenal, there's been all sorts of regards to where he'll be next season. For that reason, I think, when it comes to next season, I'm not going to necessarily say that they're going to finish 16th, but they may finish thereabouts, maybe a couple of places higher, perhaps. But I think that based upon how the season went towards the end, I think they'll be happy that they stayed up. But they weren't going to go down. When you look at the teams that were already in the relegation and down in the relegation dogfight, they weren't never going to go down. And for that, I will give Burnley. I gave them a D. A D grade, which is still good, because I feel that D is an average. So yeah, they had a pretty average season, but based upon their lofty stats from last season, I think giving them a D for this one, I think is probably just about right. But we'll see how they go next season. Moving on to 15th, we go on to Everton. It's just a team. Many people, in kind of including myself, I look at Everton sides and I think, how does this team survive? Like they've been through so much in regards to being in the bottom half of the table over the years, and they've not been relegated. Again, I didn't think they were going to get relegated after a few games. Again, they had a points deduction as well. They're in a bit. I mean, overall, they've got some good players in the team again. They've got some, Onana, Dominic Calvert-Lewin in there. They've got some players in there that can cause problems. They are a hard-working team. Sean Dyche has got a steady ship there with them, how they work. At the end of the day, they are what they are. They're one of those teams that will just play long ball and just use their strengths to their advantage, which is fair enough. You have to work what you work with. But it's things off the pitch as well, which is hurting them as well. The one thing, I'll do the grade first. Actually, sorry. They did quite well considering towards the end. I watched them in the Merseyside derby. They beat Liverpool by a goal to 0, which was a pretty good game. And I think they did actually deserve that game, from what I remember. Again, reason to be optimistic. I've actually seen their new ground. I went up there when I was in Liverpool for Grand National. I saw their ground. Um, it's looking good. It's looking good, I have to say. It will be an end of an era when they do move. Um, they finished on 40 points. They finished 15th. By Everton's standards of how they've been the last few years, that's probably quite an achievement. Um, just a bona fide mid-table club, you know. I'll give Everton a C. For by their standards, I'll give them a C minus. Sorry, I'll give them a C minus. Wolves. Um, finished 6 points ahead of Everton. Again, had some, if it weren't for certain players in their team, I think they would have been in for a dogfight as well. Many people tipped them to go down, but they were one of the few teams that beat Man City. They could have probably finished higher if Pedro Neto played a bit more. And again, they've got some players going forward who can do well. Gary O'Neill stepped in. He's kept them clear at a time when they were relegation candidates. But towards the end, they I think once they realised that they were going to be safe, they just they fallen off a bit. Again, Wolves like Everton, just another team, mid-table team. They've done what they had to do. What you see is what you get with them. They finished on 46 points. I will give Wolves by their standards as well because Gary O'Neill done a good job with them. I'll give them a C plus as well. So congratulations to Wolves and see if they can build. Let's see if Everton and Wolves will probably build up on next season. So we'll see how they both go. 13th is Fulham. Same thing kind of applies with Fulham. I think the teams which basically finished in between 15th and 12th, they're near enough all the same. Fulham, they lost Mitrovic at the start of the season after he left. He went to the Saudi League. And Mara Silva, again, they're mid-table side. They are what they are. They had some good games. I remember they played us. They played Arsenal, and they beat us 2-1. In fact, they took 4 points off us this season, and I will get when I get to one. I'll get to that one of those games with Arsenal when I get to Arsenal themselves, because I think one of those games was pretty important in regards to what happened with the title this season. But again, there's not really much I can say about Fulham. They had a good season. My niece, she does close work over there, and she said that most when the teams are finishing, the fans are happy. So they were never going to be in a relegation battle. I think they've got too good of players and too good a squad to get involved in that. They got that, they got Bert Leno in goal, good shot stopper as well. So they done well. There's not really much else I can say about that in regards to Fulham. Again, I'll give Fulham a C as another one. And they done quite well. I think they'll probably build on next season as well, but we'll see how they go. Bournemouth finishing 12th place with 48 points. In all the time that Bournemouth have been in the Premiership, this is the highest, if I recall, their highest points tally and the highest final league placing. Done very, very well. They started off, if I recall, they started off a bit slow. Gary O'Neill was in charge. At the time he was in charge, and they started off a bit slow. He left, and then they brought in Andoni Areola, who was probably candidate for Manager of the Year. But he came in, he stayed the ship, and then just before Christmas they started building up and they started playing well. Dominic Solanke had a good season, scored 19 goals. Very well done to him, Dominic. Well done to him, sorry. I think he's more than capable of building on that. He's a good striker. He's big. He's a big target man. He can finish the ball. He can get up good in the air. So they've got a good striker there in on their books. The question for Bournemouth is whether they can build on this to see if they can finish a little bit higher, considering that they finished 12th. But this is a good season for Bournemouth. Again, by their standards, very, very good, especially with how they started. And long won't continue for them. And for that, I will give Bournemouth a B plus. In contrast, with the team that they finished in the same points with in 11th place was Brighton and Hove Albion. Now Brighton, again, I mean, I think this is always going to happen to Brighton in regards to what happened with them last season. Last season they done very well. I think if I recall, they finished in the European spot. I think they finished 6th or 7th last season to get into the Europa League. When you look at their squad, very, very good squad, but the unfortunate thing was some of their key players got injured. And I think it took its toll. I think Europe took its toll as well. They had a very, very tough group in the Europa League as well. They had some very, very good games as well, but I think it took its toll. So by the time they got knocked out of Europe, they're already struggling in that somewhere in mid-table, which is where they are now. They finished sixth last. They finished sixth last season. And Mr. Roberto De Zerbi's actually left the club, so he's probably going to go and onto pastures new now and go and manage another club. Many people thought it might be Chelsea, but Chelsea brought in who they've had to bring in. Could he, Liverpool brought in who they've brought in. Could he go to Barcelona? We don't know. He'll get a good job regardless of wherever he goes. I think he probably resided to finishing mid-table. They only had one win in the last 10 games. But like I said, injuries didn't help as well. But this is a very, very talented team. And if you look at the Brighton team for the last 5 years and you take all the players that have been sold in that time, including Ben White from Arsenal, and you bring all of them back, Ben White, Trossard, and all the other guys who have now moved on, Caicedo, McAllister, if you put them back in that team now, Brighton will be a problem, an absolute problem. And they were when them boys were in the team. But this is always going to happen with them. But the reason to be optimistic is that Brighton always produce players. That's one thing I do realise about them. They do produce players, and I think they're more than capable of doing that again. I do believe that with no Europe, they won't be in Europe this season. So I do think if they keep the majority of the team together, I do believe that they'll be pushing for a European spot again. So that's the reason to be optimistic for Brighton. But yeah, it was an 11th place finish for them. I will give them a C, a C minus. I'll give them a C minus, purely based on how they did last season and how it's been this season. So I'll give them a C grade, C minus grade. Again, put that into contrast with their bitter rivals, Crystal Palace, the team down the road from me, or very soon around the corner from me, shall I say. 10th place finish with Crystal Palace. Again, they kind of struggled a little bit in the mid-season, if I remember. However, what a squad they've got, and some of the players that they've got. They brought in a new manager. Roy Hodgson stepped down. They brought Oliver Glasner in. He's come and stayed again. He's come and stayed the ship, and he's got them playing some good football. They had Mateta up front. If I remember, Mateta scored a hat trick against who they beat 4-0. Man United, they beat Man United 4-0. He scored a hat trick. I can't remember now. No, it was last game of the season. But he scored 16 league goals, but they beat Brighton. I mean Aston Villa, sorry, but I think it was like 6-0 or something like that. But crazy game. But I think you can beat, Villa on the beach and they're hungover, by their standards. Not just Jean-Pierre Mateta, but also Eze Annalise. What talents these two boys are. Absolutely brilliant when they both play. When they both play together, Palace are a different breed, and they cause so many problems to teams when they're going forward. Palace very quick. They're quick, fast. There's a lot of flair in the team. They're good on the wings. You got Eze in attacking midfield. Elise can switch up on the sides on the wings. Palace had a good year, and they finished strong as well. The latest stuff from what I've heard, however, is that Palace will listen to offers for both Eze and Elise, starting at £60 million each. So if anyone is probably smart, they've got 120 million. They probably take both of these guys on, because I think if they both leave, whoever gets them will be very good. I personally would love to see one of them. I have one of them, maybe more so Elise, but if I could take both, I'll take both. I take both from my Arsenal, but again, yeah, they had a good season. Palace. Well done to Palace. Reason to be optimistic. If they manage to keep both of them, and they can bring in a couple of additions, it can go to and from with Palace. They could sell both of these guys for up to 100, 60 120 million, maybe even more. And then with that money, they can bring in 4 or 5 players and then build again. Or they can keep them, bring in a couple again with the money that they've currently got on budget, and then build again. So Palace are at that point now where they can do whatever they want right now. And they're a very well run club. Like I said, I live in the area. I see the fans. Every time I see the fans go to the games, they're always looking forward to going to the games. And they've played some good football against some of the bigger sides. So I always look out for Palace, purely because I'm close to them. So I give Palace their flowers for this season, and for that I give them a B plus. Um, so very well done to Crystal Palace for finishing 10th, and let's see if we can build on it. We go to 9th again. West Ham, kind of similar to Brighton, because they're obviously in Europe last season. They they won the Conference League. They got, again, good players in the squad. David Moyes is now left, but they're another hardworking team. They had some good wins. I remember they beat us at the Emirates. They beat Spurs as well. They've caused quite a few teams some problems. Mohamed Kudus scored a brilliant goal in the last game of the season against Man City. I thought that was brilliant. Jared Bowen, he's been there as well, and he's stepped up, and just like last season, and Paqueta's there as well. But they were a bit dodgy after January. They didn't really keep much clean sheets. They were leaking goals. But it was a bit of an up and down season for West Ham, but fair to them, they were in Europe, just like with Brighton, they were in Europe, so they had to contest it both. But I would still say West Ham had a decent season. Could have probably maybe finished higher, but I think them finishing 9th, and with David Moyes leaving, they've got something to build on. And for that, I give West Ham a C. Reason to be optimistic. Again, like Palace, they can go either way. They've got the players going forward. They've got a steady ship in terms of a squad. There's one thing I've always known about West Ham. They've always had a core of good players which are there in the squad, and they seem to do well with it. This goes right back 20 odd years, and they're still doing the same thing now. And that's the reason to be optimistic for them. Can they build on it? They can do what they like. Again, they can go forward. A new manager's going to come in. We'll see how the new manager goes, and they can take it from there. But again, West Ham, they had a good stuff, and they had a good year. And we'll see how they go for next season. Give them a C, by the way. Sorry. Now Manchester. Okay, we got to 8th place. Now Manchester United. Now, sorry guys, I've got like some damn fluff in my nose. Manchester United, 8th place, 60 points. Now, I've said to a couple of people, I purposefully did not do this. I was going to do this last week, but I purposefully waited for the FA Cup final to grade for the gradings, purely because the FA Cup final. I wanted to see what was going to happen, who was going to win. That's the reason why I'm doing it now rather than doing it last week. Now, I'm going to give you both my grades for them. If Manchester United had lost the FA Cup, I would have I would have wholly given them an E. I would have given them an E. Problems on the pitch, problems off the pitch. Okay, teams get that way, but they by their standards, it's just been bad. Injuries doesn't help, but injuries are part of the game. However, no one thought they were going to win the FA Cup final. I think even me included. I think a lot of fans, Man United fans included, all said that they were going to lose this thing, and and I thought to myself, you know, okay, you know, anything can happen in the cup. Anything can happen in the FA Cup. It is the FA Cup. Anything can happen. There has been upsets. We've seen things where teams have been, you know, teams have finished in the lower half of the table and they've managed to beat a team which is at the top. All sorts have happened. And you know, I've actually given them I've actually given Man United a C, purely because they won a cup, because they won the FA Cup. Um, like I said, if they lost, I would have given them an E. So I've jumped two from I've given them a C, purely because they won a cup. Um, you know, I felt I needed to give them that purely because because I don't want to have a thing where it's paint over cracks. There's still problems in the team. I've said to my Man United friends that if there's anything that Man United need to do, they need to work their team, work the squad around four players. Two of the players scored in the final on Saturday. So you got Ganacho Menu. I think the other one's that other wing called Ahmad and Holland up front. Onana, keep him in goal. Bruno Fernandes, keep him for another couple of years. Okay, but work on the other positions. You still got Martinez as well, and you know, it's like I've said, there's ingredients there. The ingredients are there. The ingredients are there. But for a team like this to really prosper right now, they need to. It's like a house when you buy a house and it's all crappy and everything. You want to declutter that house to get rid of all the shit inside the house to make it good again on the inside, and then work on the outside. That's what Man United need to do. And I think that's something they haven't done in a very very long time. Um, there's a lot of things there which are probably still in place of them in regards to how things were when Fergie was in charge. There's probably things that haven't changed. So the whole culture of the club needs to change. Once the culture of the club changes, the team can move forward because it's not going to be able to move forward if the culture is still the same. And I said the same thing about Arsenal a good few years ago as well. Things ain't going to change if you keep doing what you're doing. But they going back to the FA Cup final, they played a better football. They were the better team. As much as Guardiola will sit there and say that people he came out and tried to say they didn't, I personally believe that they had the better of the game. They showed more desire, more heart, and I think that saved them this season. Do I think that the manager should stay? I think Ten Hag maybe stay another year, see how they go with the restructuring. And for that, yeah, I give Man United a C plus. I give them a C plus as well. Finished in eighth place, but they finished joint eighth with Newcastle. I'm going to move on to now. Um, Newcastle finished in seventh place on 60 points again. Newcastle started off brightly. They showed promise in the season, but then they got to points where they just faded away. Um, Injuries didn't help. But you know, Isaac, he played brilliantly for them. He was a third top scorer in the league after Haaland and Cole Palmer. Um, he's he done very well. Anthony Gordon, he was good as well. Their defense wasn't as strong as what it was the season before, but you know again they they're very, like I said, they're very much up and down. Um, they're not going to be in Europe this season. The thing for them is that they weren't going to be in Europe. If Man City had actually won the FA Cup, they would have gone into Europe, but Man United won it, so they're not in Europe. But that could be a blessing for them. Um, they can build, if they keep the majority of the team together again, they can add on a couple of others. They do have the financial backing to bring in maybe a couple of players to build on. And the fact that they're not in Europe, that's less games. They get more rest. They can build on. They can just concentrate on the league. So Newcastle, they should be up. They should be okay. I think they're going to be up there thereabouts, challenging for a European spot next season. But they had a good year. They had a good year, but they can build. I think within the next couple of years, we're going to start seeing how Newcastle is going to be. Um, Depending on what they do managerial wise, if they keep Eddie Howe, they may look at maybe replacing him with a bit more with someone else they want. But I see them doing the same thing, similarly like next season, finishing probably in between sixth and eighth place. So long may continue for Newcastle, but yeah, next season they can just concentrate on that. I will give Newcastle. I'll give them a C. I'll give them a C as well. Um, yeah. Incidentally, Isaac. Yeah, 21. Was he scored 21 goals? Yeah. More than capable of scoring more. I know you can. I think he was injured for a bit as well. But yeah, Newcastle, you're more than capable of finishing a little bit higher than what you did. That being said, I have to give my flowers to Chelsea in regards to their strong finish at the end of the season. Um, but again, like Man United, they need to declutter. They need to declutter that club. The club needs to cleanse. The club needs a cleanse, not declutter. This is a cleanse this time. Um, where do you even begin with him? Oh, goodness me! I have to start with the owner. I mean, this guy must think that he's Todd Bowley. Was he on the Boston Red Sox in baseball? You must think that they're a baseball team or they're an American team where you can just do what you do. Giving players all these long-term contracts for 9 years. Mate, what are you doing? Um, but credit's due to Chelsea. They finished the season strong. When you bear in mind that they were lavishing in between 12th and 13th place all of the season, and in the last few games they came out and they finished brilliantly. I have to say they finished the season very very strong, which I give them. Um, However, you know, with Pochettino leaving by as they say mutual consent, and they're straight away bringing in the Leicester City head coach, and it's head coach. It's not even manager, head coach. So he's gonna come in, and he's just gonna see who they're gonna bring in and just say, right, that's it. He basically has no say in any transfer dealings or anything like that. Um, which makes me just sometimes think, who would really want to manage this club with how they are? It feels very very toxic at times. Um, as much as they finished on a strong season, I still don't know what Chelsea's strongest team is. I'm pretty sure the majority of their fans don't know what their strongest team would be. And I think their new manager who's going to come in, I think his name is Maresca, the old Leicester City manager. I don't think even he's going to know what his strongest team is going to be. So this is going to be a big summer for Chelsea in regards to what they're going to do. They can't really sell anybody, but then they have to sell in order to buy. Um, it's just a tough thing for them. However, again, they finished the season strongly. They finished the season well. Cole Palmer, breath of fresh air. For me, if anything, he probably single handedly saved Chelsea with some of his performances. Um, I think if he wasn't in the team, if he wasn't in the team, Chelsea would have probably finished like a good 5, 6 places further down. We would have been seeing them in that 13th, 14th place. But he saved them. There's some players in the team which are good. Cole Palmer, Gusto. That these boys are good players to have in the team. I still think they need another striker because I don't think Nicholas Jackson is the answer. But again, the strong finish to the season that they had is something that they can build on for next season. The one thing that is missing from Chelsea is stability, and that's something that they need to work on if they really want to get back to where they want to be. Um, However, like I said, they finished the season strongly, so for that reason, I would have graded them. Well, I'm going to give them a C minus. I'm going to give Chelsea a C minus. By their standards, that's not very good, but they weren't that good this season. They just have that's something they're gonna have to build on. Again, like I said, this summer in the transfer, we'll see how they go. Now we're getting to the lofty parts now. Fifth place, Tottenham. Finished on 66 points. Now you lose your captain and you lose your striker in Harry Kane to Bayern Munich. You still got Son in there. You still got Richarlison in there as well. You bring in a new manager, Postecoglou from Celtic. He has you playing some good attacking football. You know, first few months of the season, Tottenham were playing the best football. They were attacking. They were threatening. They were not many teams wanted to play them. But I said there's only so much that you can do, and you end up coming. And what ends up happening is if you keep playing like that, you're gonna come up against a team that plays the same way. But if you continuously play that way against that team, you're gonna get played off the park. That was against Arsenal, and Man City. When you come up against these teams, they're gonna punish you. They started, like I said, they started off well. They were top with they were. I'm just reading it here now. Yeah, they were top with 26 points for the first 10 games. So if there was a league title for you to win the championship in November, then Tottenham would have been champs. But like I said, manager's come in. He's got to play. Playing some good attacking football, which is good. But then they forward away, which is something that Spurs have been known to do for years. Going back to the late 90s. This is just and I look at the team as well, and it's like it's like again. You guys know that I'm an Arsenal fan, but I'm also a football fan. So when it comes to neutralism, Spurs, obviously I've got hatred for them, but I have to have some sort of thing to say about them in regards to them as a club with the players they've got, because they do have good players. However, they do the same thing over and over again. It's like at times it's like there's no objective to what they want to do, what they want. They got to the Champions League final a few years ago, and since then they've not really done much. What more can be said about them? Reason to be optimistic. If they keep again, if they bring in a couple of additions, they can do the same thing again. They'll be challenging for a Champions League spot. They're more than capable of giving Villa and Liverpool, and even Arsenal a little bit of a run. They do have a fairly decent record against Man City to an extent, but I don't really see much going on with that one in that regard. Villa, I'm going to go through these quick now, guys. With Tottenham, I'm going to give Tottenham a C. Villa, I'm just going to say straight, I'm going to give them an A. They had a really brilliant season. Ollie Watkins, fantastic. They done well in Europe. They got beat by Olympiacos in the Conference League, and which I think was a bridge too far for them. But done double against Arsenal. They gave Man City a game. They done a whole load of problems for a lot of teams this season. Emery done very, very well. He's won the he signed. I think he recently signed a 5-year contract with Villa as well. So Villa are going places. I give Villa an A for their troubles. Again, I'm going through these quick now, guys. Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp is now left, and thank you, Jurgen, for being in the league. Very, very well done. Arne Slot is now the new coach to come in. Liverpool again, same thing. They were in the league. They were in the title race, done well, but they fallen off a little bit, which is a bit unlucky. But they had some good performances from like Alexis McAllister and everything. I'll give Liverpool a B+. Again, I'm going through these quick. Arsenal, my boys, 89 points, 9 times out of 10 would win you the championship. That's all I can say in regards to them. And the itching thing for me as an Arsenal fan is, again, like I mentioned earlier about Fulham. We played Fulham, we drew them 2-2. If we won that game, I can go on about how many games I won in regards to certain games that Arsenal played. I can be here all day, but what more could I say? We was unlucky, but we kept on winning games. But ultimately, it was the Villa game at the Emirates that cost us. Um, that was a sucker punch, but we came back out. We done what we had to do, but it wasn't enough. But we're the one team that has actually challenged the champions in the last 2 years. And everyone keeps saying that Arsenal's bought the league. I'm thinking, well, okay, here's my question: if Arsenal's bought the league, what are the other 18 teams in the league doing? That's a rhetorical question because no one could even give you an answer. Bearing in mind that this is an Arsenal team that finished 8th 2 years ago, no one expects us to do what we done last season. Everyone thought it was going to be a different thing this season, but we finished second twice against a relentless machine in Man City. There's only so much you can do. I give Arsenal an A minus. There is optimism for next season. I'll give my flowers to Declan Rice and Kai Havertz. Odegaard, absolutely brilliant this season as well. Yeah, A minus. I'll move on to the champions now. With Man City, I was going to give them an A plus, but I'm only going to give them. I'm going to give them an A. I'm going to give them an A because of the FA Cup final. Otherwise, I would have given them an A star. By their standards as well, by what happened last season, they won a treble. So in a sense, I should probably put that a little bit, but no, they were a relentless machine this season. Kevin De Bruyne was out for 4 months, came back and he came back in like a key player, like as a breath of fresh air. Doku came into the team at times, caused problems. Haaland was out for a bit, came back, was still scoring goals. This is a relentless machine that's playing good football. The only thing that's coming into play with them right now is these 115 charges or financial charges being issued to the club. Whatever's going on there, we don't know. This was issued to them last year, and here we are over a year later, nothing's going on. But like I said, congratulations to them. Haaland got a golden boot. Well done to him. He was out for 2 months with an injury, incidentally, and well, what can I say about Phil Foden? Phil Foden was, he's a marvel. He's brilliant. And Rodri as well. Again, bring that to the team, and that's a good team they got there. And so, congratulations to Man City on their win on the Premier League season. Yeah, guys, go through it quick. I know. Let me know what you think of the gradings. I'm gonna be on the next episode in a moment. I'm gonna just do a quick one about my team of the season. Hope you've enjoyed this episode, and yeah, see you on my team of the season. See you on the next one. God bless.